The waitress looked straight at me, then slowly placed the menu back on the counter. "We don't serve people like you here." What she didn't realize was that someone very powerful was sitting right behind me. "My name is Tasha Williams. I'm a 34-year-old Black woman living in Atlanta, Georgia. Most mornings, I start my day the same way, a quiet walk, coffee in hand, and a few moments to breathe before work begins. I'm a civil rights attorney. But that morning, no one in that small diner knew that. And honestly, I didn't care if they did. All I wanted was a simple breakfast before heading into court. The diner sat on a quiet corner downtown. One of those old-school places with red vinyl seats and the smell of bacon floating through the air. The kind of place where regulars greet each other by name. I stepped inside, brushing the rain from my coat. The room went quiet for a second. Just a second. But when you grow up Black in America, you learn to recognize that silence. That pause. That moment when people decide who you are before you even sit down. I ignored it. I smiled politely and took a seat at the counter. That's when the waitress walked over. She didn't greet me, didn't smile. She just stared. Her name tag read Linda. "You waiting for someone?" she asked. Her tone wasn't friendly. It sounded like suspicion. "No," I said calmly. "Just breakfast." She looked around the diner like she expected someone to object. Then she sighed. "You know, the takeout window is around the corner." I blinked. "I'd like to eat here." A man sitting 2 stools away chuckled quietly. Linda crossed her arms. "We usually reserve these seats for regular customers." I glanced around. Half the counter was empty. "I'll only be about 20 minutes, I said. She leaned closer. And then she said something that made my stomach drop. "We've had problems before." Her eyes moved slowly from my hair, to my jacket, to my purse. "You understand." The implication was clear. She thought I didn't belong. That I was trouble. Or worse. For a moment, I considered leaving. Not because she was right, but because sometimes it's easier to walk away than to fight every battle. But something in me refused. I'd spent my whole life watching people shrink themselves to make others comfortable. I wasn't doing that today. "I'll have scrambled eggs," I said calmly. Linda laughed under her breath. "You didn't hear me." The diner had gone quiet now. Forks paused midair. People were watching. And then she said it. The sentence that froze the entire room. "We don't serve your kind here." The words hung in the air like a thunderclap. No one spoke. No one moved. My heart pounded. I felt that familiar mix of anger and exhaustion. The kind that comes from knowing this moment isn't new. It's just another chapter in a very old story. I took a slow breath. "You want to repeat that?" I asked quietly. Linda shrugged. "You heard me." A man at the far booth shifted uncomfortably. Another woman stared at her plate. No one said a word. That silence hurt almost as much as the insult. Then I heard a chair scrape behind me. Someone stood up. A deep voice spoke calmly. "Actually, I'd like to hear it again too." Linda turned around. So did I. The man walking toward the counter looked familiar. Tall, gray suit, confident presence. And then I recognized him. Judge Marcus Bennett. The very judge I was scheduled to appear before in court that morning. The entire diner seemed to hold its breath. Judge Bennett approached the counter slowly. Linda forced a smile. "Oh, good morning, Judge." He didn't smile back. "I asked a question," he said. "What exactly did you mean by your kind?" Linda's confidence disappeared instantly. "Oh no, I didn't mean." "You said it very clearly," he interrupted. "I heard it from my booth." The room was silent. Judge Bennett turned toward me. Then he did something no one expected. He nodded respectfully. "Good morning, Ms. Williams." Linda blinked. Confused. "You know each other?" she asked. Judge Bennett looked back at her. "Know her?" His voice carried across the diner. "She's one of the most respected civil rights attorneys in this state." A murmur rippled through the room. Linda's face went pale. Judge Bennett continued. "And in about an hour, she'll be standing in my courtroom arguing a case about discrimination." The irony landed like a hammer. Several customers shifted awkwardly. One man shook his head in disbelief. Judge Bennett placed his hands on the counter. "And it seems," he said calmly, "you've just given her another example." Linda looked like the floor might swallow her whole. I didn't mean. But the damage was done. A woman at the booth suddenly spoke up. That's not the first time she said things like that. Another customer nodded. "I've heard it too." The silence that once protected her had disappeared. Now the truth was loud. Very loud. Linda apologized. Over and over. But the moment had already passed. "I finally got my breakfast. Not because I demanded it, but because the truth refused to stay quiet." As I stood to leave, Judge Bennett looked at me. "You handled that with grace," he said. I smiled slightly. "I've had practice." Outside, the rain had stopped. Sunlight broke through the clouds. And as I walked toward the courthouse, I thought about something my grandmother used to say. People will show you who they are eventually. But sometimes, all it takes is one witness to make the world listen. Racism doesn't always shout. Sometimes it whispers. In assumptions. In small humiliations. In moments people hope no one will notice. But truth has a way of showing up. And when it does, everything changes. If this story moved you, remember one thing. Respect costs nothing. But silence can cost someone their dignity.
If you enjoyed this video, please take a moment to like, share, and subscribe to the channel, as your support truly helps us grow. We'd also love to hear from you, so leave a comment below and share your thoughts. We read every single comment. We are on a mission to reach 1,000 subscribers, and every bit of support brings us one step closer. Thank you for being part of Black Diaries and supporting the journey. Have a good day.